Do I look chat? Do I look presentable? It could be worse. I could have a worse shirt on today. Hello, dear viewer. Welcome to the Asicon channel. Today we're going to be looking at... I wanted to say something in addition to that. Today we're looking at another commander from my personal collection. That is Ziatora the Incinerator. He owns a construction company, I think. He does, right? Because the Girder Goons, it's this guy. I think he also does underground fight rigging, but sure, whatever. Ziatora, he's a demon dragon. Magic cards. Like I said, this guy, he owns a construction company, I think. And he does underground fight rigging, but the construction company part I find hilarious in Magic the Gathering. So the deck is called, if you would entertain, it's just a fling, because this guy flings creatures. So I call them temporary contractors, because in my head, he borrows, like he hires a guy to be the muscle for something, and then instead of paying them, he buries them in concrete in his, you know, constructed skyscrapers. That's my internal lore head. He probably does that too in the actual lore, but who knows? I didn't read much of New Capenna. I do hope we go back though. That's fun. So Ziatora the Incinerator, 6/6 for 6 flying, sadly no trample. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, Ziatora deals damage equal to its power to any target, and you make 3 treasure tokens. So my primer for the deck list is cast big boys, throw big boys, get paid. So as usual, we have categories for the game plan of this deck. And first up is the Sub Commander, which is also part of the Riveteer group family. They're called families in New Capenna, because they're supposed to be like mobsters, you know? So Mr. Orfeo the Boulder is a 2/4 for 4, not great. But whenever you attack, double target creature's power until end of turn. Doesn't matter who attacks, you can double the power of any other attacker. Or hell, it doesn't even need to be an attacker. Just double target creature's power. You can technically buff someone else's power for whatever reason, but usually you'll be buffing your own thing and have Ziatora throw them into the concrete and get 3 treasure tokens. So Mr. Orfeo the Boulder is very fun. He can also just be an actual commander if you want. He is uncommon, but I think that's a very powerful effect. On to the Fling Candidates, because we need our own boys to throw. And it's not just limited to our own boys. We'll get to that in a bit. But first up is this Lord of the Rings dead guy, Haunt of the Dead Marshes. When it enters, scry 1. For 2 black, return Haunt of the Dead Marshes from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Activate only if you control a legendary creature. So if your commander's out, you can reanimate this guy for 3. Then keep scrying. At the very least, if you have no other target and you need to fix the top of your deck, Ziatora can keep throwing this guy and pinging someone for 1 if you want to be cute about it. Rotting Regisaur, he's a 7/6 for 3. He does have a downside. At the beginning of your upkeep, discard a card. But, you know, he might not even see that because you'll probably throw him at your end step for a whopping 7. Shakedown Heavy, another big boy for 3. He is a menace 6/4. Whenever he attacks, the defending player may have you draw a card. If they do, untap him and remove him from combat. So you can fake attack if you want card draw. He does have menace, it makes him slightly harder to block. Or you can just throw him at someone for 6. Forgotten Ancient. Whenever a player casts a spell, not just you may put a counter on Forgotten Ancient. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can move any number of them around to other creatures. But you know, if he becomes super large, because everyone casts spells, like maybe in 1 turn rotation even, it'll be huge enough for Ziatora to throw to someone else. Demogoth Titan for hybrid 4 mana, either any combination of black or green mana. He's an 11/10 for 4 mana, that's insane. Whenever he attacks or blocks, sacrifice a dude, you're just gonna throw this to someone for 11, right? Rekindling Phoenix 4/3, when it dies, it makes a 0/1 egg that at your upkeep will sacrifice itself to reanimate the phoenix. So potential repeatable sacrifice outlet as long as the egg isn't killed. Here's a new one from Edge of Eternity's Germinating Worm. He's a 5/5 for 5, but if you warp him for 2 before he disappears at your end step, you can throw him to someone, and when he enters you gain 2 life. Small little bonus, very cute. Yargle, he's a 9/3 for 5. No abilities, he's just big. Throw him at someone. Yargle and Multani, so frog and tree friends, literally the happy tree friends. For 6 mana, it's an 18/6. So you throw the superhero pair to someone for 18 damage. Immortal Phoenix, 5/3 for 6, flying, but when it dies, return it to its owner's hand. So again, if you have big mana late game, this is a repeatable fling target. Block a worm, 7/7 for 7. Trample, when it enters, you gain 7 life. When it dies, draw a card. Easy fling target. You get both effects immediately. And hey, he's a big attacker by himself. Rampaging Brontodon, this one's a bit more fun. Whopping 7 though, but it's still a 7/7. Trample. When it attacks, it gets +1/+1 for each land you control. So if you're at the late game, I mean, you can cheat him out with all the treasures you make. But at the very least, he's going to be very large if you get a turn cycle for him to attack. Then you can throw him to someone. If Orpheus out, it'll also ×2 it. Whopping damage. Darigaz reincarnated. 7/7 for 7, even though it's 4 Jund. Trample, flying, haste. If it dies, exile it with 3 egg counters. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove an egg counter. If there are no egg counters, he just returns to the battlefield. So again, it takes 3 turns for him to come back. But this is a repeatable fling target. At the very least, he's big, he has trample, he has flying, he has haste. Godzilla! But not really. This is Titanoth Rex from Ikoria. The ability is for 1 green, you can cycle Godzilla or the real name Titanoth Rex to, well, yeah, cycle, so that discard this, draw a card, and then you put a trample counter on a creature you control. Otherwise, it's an 11/11 for 9. Now you're wondering, there's another Godzilla in here, and how do you pay for all these high mana costs? We'll get to that in a bit. There's stuff here that lets you bypass that. Space Godzilla. Death Corona. This got errated to Death Void, I think. Because people got super butthurt about the name. For obvious reasons. But yeah, he's an 8/8 for 8. Death Touch and cycling. Same deal. When you cycle it, you put a Death Touch counter instead of a trample counter. The creature you control. They're biggins. Gigantic big boys from the monster plane, Ikoria. Fling targets. So we're sacrificing a bunch of dudes, so obviously we need to have additional payoffs for that too. So here we have Midnight Reaper. A non-token creature you control dies. It deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. Pitiless Plunderer. Whenever a creature you control dies, another creature, not including this, you make a treasure token. God Eternal Bontu. Menace 5/6 for 5. When it enters, you may sacrifice any number of other permanents, then draw that many cards. So you'll have a ton of treasure from this, from Zeotora itself, and maybe this guy too. So you can sacrifice those for card draw if you don't want to use them for mana. And when God Eternal Bontu dies, it's put into exile from the battlefield. You may put it back into your deck 3rd from the top. So again, another easy fling target because it'll just return to the deck again, letting you cast it and then throw them again over and over and draw more cards. Orvold, Faker's King. Whenever it attacks or enters, sacrifice another permanent. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, he gets bigger by getting 1/1 counters and you draw a card. So we're making a ton of treasure, which can go into the sacrifice thing, and you sacrifice dudes, which will also let you draw cards. Corvold is stupid. Like, this was a late edition. I just got him recently because of his Edge of Eternity's reprint. He got cheaper. He could very much just be your commander, just add more sacrifice effects, but I wanna throw big boys. Corvold's here just to primarily let me draw cards. And like I said, you're not limited to just sacrificing your own creatures. Captivating Crew can borrow an opponent's creature until end of turn. Give it haste, you can attack with it, and before you give them back, you can fling them with Zeotora. So, literally hiring other dudes and then putting them in the cement mixer afterwards. Since we're throwing so many things into the graveyard, we need ways to get them back. We have a few ways of doing that. Eternal Witness. When it enters, return a target card from graveyard to your hand. Charnel Horde Worm. That's a lot of words. 6/6 for 7. Trample. When it deals combat damage to an opponent, you may turn target card from graveyard to your hand. Forever Young. I sang that really bad. Put any number of target creatures from your graveyard to the top of your deck, then draw a card. So if you want to return one or more key creatures that you have sacrificed with Zeotora, Forever Young, at the very least get one of them back. Living Death, since there's gonna be a bunch of dudes in the yard, we can just swap them all out with the dudes on the battlefield. And then just possibly either swing with them or just do the thing all over again. Granted, Zeotora also needs to be on the battlefield for that, but still, Living Death is perfect for this deck. On to our utility artifacts and enchantments. So Lightning Greaves, obviously, to protect the boy. This is my only form of protection in this deck, sadly. I don't have any spare Swiftfoot boots, but Lightning Greaves. We don't target Zeotora, ever. So this is perfect. The Shroud doesn't really matter. Brass's Tunnel Grinder, since we descend a lot, that's the keyword for this. It's also a form of card draw. Discard any number of cards when it enters, then draw that many +1. And at the beginning of your end step, if you descended, put a bore counter on this, and if it has 3 or more, it can transform into a land that can discover. I think that's the effect. So there, taps for red whenever you cast a permanent spell using mana produced by this. Discover X, where X is the spell's mana value. We have a ton of big mana cards, so we can discover and get more dudes and possibly cheat them into play as well. I think this is pretty underrated, very fun to play. Helm of the Host. Why sacrifice permanents when you can sacrifice temporary copies of them that have haste and can attack? So if you have non-legendary big boys, you can create a copy of them, have them attack. If they survive, throw them at someone else at the end of turn. Keep doing that over and over again. Easy. This is the rhythm of the wild. If you don't sing the card, you don't get the effect. You're not allowed to get the effect, so you have to, even if it sucks. Even if your cover is not great, you have to sing Rhythm of the Wild. I've gone too long with that. Creature spells you control can't be countered. That might be important. Non-token creatures you control have Riot, so they either enter with haste or have a 1/1 counter. Haste, if you can get them to attack easily for free, then throw them with Zeotora, or give them a counter, make them 1 point bigger, then throw them with Zeotora. Very, very good card. Riveteer's Ascendancy. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, return target creature card with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Do this once, which will be at your end step after you throw someone with Zeotora. This is absolutely perfect. Grook's Uprising, so we have a ton of big boys, so when it enters, if you control a creature with power 4 or more, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample. Whenever a creature with power 4 or more enters the battlefield, you control, of course, draw a card. So very, very good draw effect. And here's one of the things that I mentioned, how we cheat our big mana big boys into play is with Sneak Attack. For a single red, put a creature card from your hand to the battlefield. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So that trigger goes on the stack. But before that resolves, you can also put Zeotora's trigger on the stack because they both say at the beginning of your end step. So of course, you will sacrifice them to Zeotora before the Sneak Attack thing. So you get your value off of that. Here's another way to cheat boys into play. Doors of Durin from Lord of the Rings. Whenever you attack, scry 2. Then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, put it onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Doesn't matter what the mana cost is. Until your next turn, it gains trample if you control a dwarf and hexproof if you control an elf. That part doesn't matter. Hopefully Garruk's Uprising will give them trample, but still, you're cheating big boys into play. If they survive combat on that turn, just throw them with Zeotora. And since we're producing treasures with Zeotora and possibly that Pirate Man, Pitiless Plunder, Revel in Riches is another potential win condition. So whenever an opponent creature dies, you create the treasure. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more, which is not hard to reach, by the way, you win the game! So most likely players will deal with this before it resolves. But still, it's a possible potential alternate win con. And this is just really good. Greater good. Like I said, sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to its power, then discard 3. So here's a dumb thing you can do. Living Death. So you cast Living Death, it's on the stack, maintain priority. Before Living Death resolves, sack all your creatures with Greater Good, draw a bunch of cards, put more creatures into the graveyard with the discard 3, and then they all just come back with Living Death. Isn't that great? We've broken Living Death, guys. This is very good. This also lets you survive other people's living deaths or board wipes. At the very least, you get to replace the things that die. And another way to return things from your graveyard to your hand, Palace Siege. So when it enters, choose cons or dragons. We're choosing cons, of course. So at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from graveyard to your hand. The dragon's effect, you know, at your upkeep, each opponent loses 2, you gain 2. It's a fringe scenario choice, but for the most part, we're going to be choosing cons. Planeswalkers, we got 3. We have Domri Ride. So look at the top for +1. If it's a creature card, you may reveal it, put it into your hand. -2, target creature control fights another dude. So that's one of our few interactions. And -7, doesn't really matter, but hey, you get an emblem that says creatures you control have double strike, trample, hexproof, and haste. If you get him to 7, you should be winning at that point. Here's another Domri, Chaos Bringer. So the +1 is add red or green. If that mana is spent on a creature, it gets Riot, which is it either enters with haste or a 1/1 counter. The -3 is you dig the top 4, then reveal up to 2 creatures, put them into your hand, and the rest in the bottom. The -8 is another emblem. At the beginning of each end step, create a 4/4 red-green beast with trample. Garruk, Cursed Huntsman. So token creating Planeswalker 0, create 2/2 black-green wolves, where when they die, put a loyalty counter on each Garruk you control. He's the only Garruk here, but still. Sacrifice fodder for Ziatora, or blockers for you if you need be. So that puts the threat of Garruk becoming bigger. You can also just pop a dude, destroy target creature, draw a card. Or you get an emblem that says creatures you control have +3/+3 and trample. So very, very good. He's in foily. I got this from a pre-release. Very fun. On to more interaction. We have Riveter's Charm because we're playing Riveters. Choose 1. Target opponent sacks a dude or planeswalker they control with the highest mana value. Or exile top 3 cards of your deck. You may play them until your next end step. Or exile target player's graveyard. So you can Bojuka Bog them, you can Impulse draw 3, or you can force an opponent to sack their highest mana value dude or planeswalker. Unleash the Inferno. This is just it's here because it's the Riveteer card. It deals 7 to target creature or planeswalker. When it deals excess damage this way, destroy target artifact or enchantment with mana value less than or equal to the number of excess damage. So it has fake trample on a burn spell, but still, 7 is a lot. Speaking of a lot, Decimate. Destroy target artifact, target creature, target enchantment, and target land. So to cast this, you need to have all targets illegal at the time. And if there aren't enough for you to target, you have to target your own things. But still, you get to destroy 4 things. That's a lot. 4 things is a lot. Slice in Twain. This is worse naturalized, but it lets you draw a card. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Draw a card. That's the deck. So we're here at the Mana Dorks and Mana Ramp parts. For our Dork package, we got Birds of Paradise for any color, Lawnmower Elves, Elvish Mystic, Paradiso Druid, that's hexproof when it's untapped, Burnished Heart. I guess this isn't really a Dork, but it's Mana Ramp still. Speaking of not Dork, but Mana Ramp, Solemn Simulacrum Sad Robot. He's also a fling target for 2, sure, but because when he dies, you draw a card, so there you go. And Mana Fixing, Masked Bandits, because it's part of the Riveteers family. You can exile it to attach itself to a land you control that lets it tap for any one of the Junt colors, so there you go. At the very least, it's a 5/5 Vigilance for 6 that you can cast after you've paired it with a land. So there's a late game fling target for you. And for the non-creature ramp, we have Farseek, search for everything that's not a forest. Kodamas Reach, which is Japanese Cultivate. Cultivate, which is English Kodamas Reach. Deep Reconnaissance, which is search for 1 basic land with flashback. Beanstalk Giant, which is search for 1 land, well, forest. Wait, no, search for a basic land. Put it onto the battlefield. Not tapped, mind you. For 3. And then he becomes a big boy, based on the number of lands you control, which you can throw at someone with Ziatora. Soul Ring, because Soul Ring. Mind Stone, because card draw. Rule Signet. Golgari Signet. I don't have a spare Rakdos Signet, so Moss Diamond is here. Oh man. But like I said, this could easily be a Rakdos Signet. Chromatic Lantern, because tricolors. We need all the help we can get. And finally, we're at the Manabase. Manabase. So let's go through the non-basics first. Then we can go to our basics. Obviously, Command Tower, because tricolor. Well, Orchard, because I don't have a lot of good rare tap lands. So we're dealing with this. Golgari Guildgate. Thriving Bluff. It's the red that you can pair with another color. Racer's Ring. It's a Gruul Riveteer thingy. Or the... what's it? The Cabaretti one. Because it's red-green. Wooded Ridgeline. It has the type. So if you have the Searcher, so you can search it with Farseek. Stomping Ground. Shockland. Actual value, because I have spare. Geothermal Bog. This is the other Dominaria named tap land. So you can also search this with the Farseeks. Temple of Malice, when it enters scry 1. Blood Crypt, Shockland baby. Riveteer's Outlook, it's Evolving Wilds specifically for Riveteer Jund colors. You gain a life. Evolving Wilds, it's Riveteer's Outlook, but Evolving Wilds. Temple of the False God, taps for 2 if you have 4 or more lands. 5 lands, sorry. Kessig Wolf Run, give someone +X and trample. Yes. Mossfort Bridge, Hideaway 4. And it checks power, which, you know, you want big power to throw with Ziatora. Basic lands, we got 7 swamps. 7 mountains, yes, 7. And 9 forests, because there's a lot of green in here. I'm running the D&D ones because they have words. I think that's fun. But yes, that is the deck for Ziatora the Incinerator. The deck list is on Moxfield. It's just a fling, baby! There you go. That's the clever deck name I made. He owns a construction company, I think, right? I mentioned that before. But yeah, this deck is a bit pricier than my usual deck lists. I don't know why. It could have been more because of the Godzilla versions. Here is... I've set it to the cheapest version, so it's just Titanoth Rex and Void Beckoner instead of Godzilla and Space Godzilla. The Shocklands are probably upping the price by $15-$20 maybe. The 2 Shocklands. Helm of the Host is probably, yeah, there we go, $12. I need it. It's fun. Sorry. Oh, Revel in Riches is also 15. Okay. But yeah, wait, where's Corvo? Corvo is cheap now. Oh, he's $1 now? Yo, holy shit. Yeah, this one is almost $100 at its cheapest possible version on TCG Player. But you can obviously build this however way you want in whatever budget you have. If you have a better mana base, just put them in. Put in strictly better versions of whatever cards are already in here. This is my personal build. I have very much big fun throwing big dudes to opponents, getting so much treasure. The problem is, like I said, I don't have a lot of interaction, so I tend to have trouble stopping anyone else. But if you get the game plan going, you're at the very least gonna have a ton of treasure. Enough to play Magic the Gathering and hopefully just decimate everyone before they get a chance to retaliate. But that's been the deck tech for Ziatora. And like I said, only 99.7% of you are not subscribed. I say only, but I would like that to be reversed, please. So if you enjoyed the video, if you like what you saw, if you have any ideas that came forth from my silly little deck tech of this fabulous dragon, please do so and share it with the comments. I don't know what to say anymore, but yeah, I appreciate you checking out the video, and like, comment, subscribe, do the stuff, do the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Ooh, I swear he owns a construction company.